Ladies and gentlemen, that was Indonesia. Please give a warm applause for the land of thousand tourism destination. Now, allow me to commence the program. Professor Dr. Irwan Prayitno, Governor of West Sumatra, Honorable Rosmalati Halid, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia in Chicago, Mr. Jesse Guerra, President of American Society of Travel Agents Midwest Chapter, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, selamat pagi. A very good morning to all. Selamat pagi is good morning in Minang. So once again, I would like to welcome you all to the residence of the Consul General of Indonesia in Chicago. In this pretty spring morning, we are honored to have an opportunity to learn more about Indonesia, the tourism of Indonesia, and particularly the tourism of West Sumatra. So now, without further ado, allow me to invite the Consul General Rosmalati Halid to present about Indonesia tourism. Madam Consul General, the floor is yours.
The Honorable Professor Dr. Irwan Prayitno, Governor of West Sumatra Province, Mr. Jesse Guerra, distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Selamat pagi. In Indonesia, it's very common if we have meetings, we start with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, peace be upon you. So, if you can find it everywhere in Indonesia. First, I would like to express appreciation to ASTA for making this meeting possible, and also I have the honor to invite the governor to speak before us to speak about West Sumatra, because West Sumatra is actually it was awarded the best World Halal Tourism in 2017. The award was conferred in Dubai last year, so I'm very proud of that fact. And there's another milestone, I think, for Indonesian tourism. Let me begin by showing you the map of Indonesia. I know that there was videos before, but you can see that this is the major islands of Indonesia. There are only 5 big islands, but there are actually 17,000 islands in Indonesia. So if you go to the next slide, please. Yes, Indonesia is divided into 3 time zones: the West, Central, and East. And it's 1 hour difference each. So there are 2 hour difference from the west to the east. Yeah, next, when Americans think of Indonesia, usually they think about Bali. We know that the brand of Bali is already well established, but actually Indonesia is more than Bali. But Bali is known for its beach, for its culture, and how they practice their religious activities in everyday life, and they still preserve that culture. So be careful if you go to Bali. Don't go there during the we call it Hari Nyepi. It's Silence Day, because you will not find any service in Bali. You might be familiar with that, because there's no lights, there's no activities, everybody's staying at home, there's no airport service, there's no hotel service, so it's really silence. I have a staff there, Abi, he's a Balinese, so during Nyepi Day, he stays at home. Yes, so there are more than 17,000 islands, of which more than only 7,800 something have names. The rest are not named yet. And tourism actually contributes about 1.8 to our GDP. It's relatively small, but we of course target it for the 2017 for 4.3% contribution to the GDP. We haven't received the exact number yet, but the number is growing. And then also tourism contributes quite significantly for our employment, and it's about 1.6%, and that's a big percentage for us in terms of GDP. And what is the top 10 tourist destinations in Indonesia? Number one is of course Bali. Bali is always on top of the list on the world's best tourist destination. I think last year it was voted number one according to I forgot which magazine. But this year, I think in February it was number two. I think after Paris, I think. So well, the number is always changed, but Bali is always on the list. And this is the kacak dance. It's a massive dancers like an offering to gods or something. But it's very popular, and it can be tailored to the needs of the visitors, because in each community in Bali they have this tradition to preserve their dance. And they have a team of dancers, and then if you go there, usually each village has its own community cultural team. Yeah. The second one is Komodo Island. I don't know whether you're familiar with this. It is a giant lizard, and it only lives on the Komodo Island. You won't find it anywhere in the world. This gained popularity now, even among young Indonesians. And I think the place is also good and accessible by yacht, ship, yes, also by air and by sea. The third one is Lombok and Gili Island. It's an island next to Bali. So if you go to Lombok, it's not as crowded as Bali yet. So now it's gaining popularity. And then the fourth one is Raja Ampat. I think if you watched the video earlier, you noticed that there are islands, and Raja Ampat means the four kings, and it's in West Papua. It's the westernmost part of Indonesia. There are about, I think Raja Ampat homes to 550 types of coral reefs, and then more than 1,000 coral fish, and then 1,700 types of mollusks. And this is the most diverse library of worldwide coral reef. So this is a well-protected area. We try to maintain this place will not be disturbed by the influx of tourists, because now everybody is looking for this place, also in Indonesian young people. And the fifth one is Bunaken Island. Bunaken is known for snorkeling as well as diving. It's in the north part of Indonesia, north Sulawesi, almost bordering with the Philippines. And then the sixth one is Yogyakarta. Yogyakarta is a city. It's actually a cradle of Javanese civilization, the culture. And this is the Prambanan temple. It's a Hindu temple. But actually in Yogyakarta there is the largest Buddhist temple. It's called Borobudur. And the seventh one is Kalimantan. That's orangutan. In Indonesia, we call the island Kalimantan, but in Malaysia, call it Borneo. But actually, we share land border with Malaysia. And this is the orangutan, and we have a national park to preserve them. And then the eighth place is Mentawai Island, and that's in West Sumatra. That's the area of the governor. And the governor, I believe, will speak later on about Mentawai. It's a world-class surfing place, destination for surfers. The ninth place is Lake Toba. This is the largest volcano lake. I think it's and the second largest lake in the world after Victoria in Africa. One of the 10 deepest lake, the depth reaches about 500 meters. And then in the middle there's a big island, Samosir. The size of the island is about the size of Singapore. And there was a video from the National Geographic mentioning that actually this is not really a lake. This is a crater, because before 1,000 years ago, this was actually a volcano. It erupted, and the story said that the eruption, the clouds, it reached Europe, and then that this eruption was one of a major cause for the ice age, because it covered the sun, so that very cold during that time. So according to National Geographic, this might be a crater, and underneath there might be still volcano. Actually, from that eruption, there are 4 mounds emerged from this. So we'll see about it. I hope it's really scary, you know, when you think about it. And then the 10th place is Mount Bromo. Mount Bromo is part of the Bromo Tengger Semeru mountains. It's part of a national park. It covering the massive area of 300 square kilometers in East Java. There are again 4 volcanoes have emerged, and then one mountain is the highest mountain in Java, and there are 4 lakes in this national park. Next is our top diving destinations. One is Alor Islands. Alor in the eastern part of Indonesia. There are in rhinopias. There's a kind of fish, and then this fish invite the hammerhead sharks and also blue whales. I think the best part to visit the area is in March to December. Because that's the time when the hammerhead sharks and blue whales will come to that area. Second one is of course Bali. Bali is known for its, Bali has everything. Culture, diving, surfing, scuba, and then adventurous tourism. And then Bali is also known as the island of the gods, because this is a Hindu, the majority of populations are Hindu. And then the third one is Komodo National Park, which again, this is the Komodo Island, where the giant lizard live. And then the fourth one is Maluku. Maluku is known for Spice Islands. Maluku was the reason why colonial powers during that time came to Indonesia. It starts with the Portuguese, and then the Arabs, and then the British, and then the Dutch. And you know, one small island in that area, Rune Island, is actually, during that time, belongs to the British, and Manhattan belonged to the Dutch. They swapped the islands. Yeah, if you look at the history, there's an agreement between the Dutch and the British swapping this island. I don't know whether the Dutch regretted the decision now. But because during that time, spice is really like gold. So it's very precious. And then the fifth one is Raja Ampat, as I mentioned a while ago. Now, the top 10 visitors coming to Indonesia, number 1 is from China. And of course, China has a large population, and I think more than 100 million people traveling abroad every year from China. And we would like to also, of course, to tap that market and increase the arrival of tourists from China. And the second one is Singapore. Singapore is our close neighbors, and I should say that maybe the biggest visitors of Singapore are also Indonesians, because they're very close to Indonesia. And we can, I think the nearest port is Batam. It takes about 1 hour by ferry. So, and it's very, I think Indonesians also frequent travelers to Singapore. And then also Malaysia, this is our also close neighbors. And I think people from Padang, from the North and West Sumatra are closer to Malaysia and Singapore rather than to Jakarta, the capital. And then the fourth one is Australia. Most Australian tourists go to Bali. It's like Bali is their backyard, you know, because very close, and then it's nice beach, and then maybe I think it's a lot cheaper if they go somewhere in the world. And Bali has everything. And then the fifth one is Europe. Of course, Europe means other countries than England, Netherlands, Germany, France, and Russia. The sixth one is Japan. And then India, South Korea, England, and USA. USA is still 331,000. Now, American tourists coming to Indonesia, you can see the trend. Is steadily increasing, and I think you know, sometimes we discuss why is the number still lower for the US tourists. The distance might be one factor, but also I believe that there is not much history between Indonesia and the US. It's different with the Philippines, with Thailand, with Vietnam. I think those countries are well known. I mean, you know, you can see in 60s, 70s on TV, on radio, you heard about these countries. And Thailand is where the GIs went for vacation, I believe. So, but they don't go to Indonesia. That's why we would like to increase our exposure in the US market for US tourists. And we would like to, again, actively do promotion in different forums like fairs, and then this kind of meeting. And the next activity that we will cooperate with ASTA is on the 5th of July, and is the tour operators meeting. I would invite tour operators from Indonesia to come, and then maybe to talk business with their counterparts here in the US. And then our target for foreign tourists in 2018 is 17 million tourists to visit Indonesia. We have offered packages, and in this year there is one important meeting that will be held in Bali, and that's the annual meeting of the IMF and the World Bank. And we believe that this is a major meeting, and we believe that this meeting will attract about 15,000 participants from 189 countries. And these are bankers with money, of course. And we noticed that in previous annual meeting of the IMF and World Bank was in Singapore. And that really was a very big meeting, because so many side events. And Indonesia will offer tour packages to Bali, Lombok, Komodo. Could you next slide, please? Yeah, this one is tour packages also developed by different area. The Sumatra Island will offer Danau Toba, Lake Toba, Batam, Belitung, Padang, and Palembang. Padang is the capital of West Sumatra province, and then the different islands. Yeah, next. Now, the flight route to Indonesia. These are major airlines flying to Indonesia. Most of the airports, of course, they fly to the capital, Jakarta, but most of them also fly to Bali. And from Bali, there are connecting flights to different places in Indonesia. And I think Anna flies every day. Also JAL, Cathay Pacific, Qatar as well, Korean Air. But American Airlines is not every day. They're not flying to Indonesia, right? Code share with our flag carrier, with Garuda. And then also I would inform you about visa. United States nationals are exempted from the visa. So there's a visa-free policy for the U.S. nationals. The visa-free, the visa is free, and then it's for 30 days, non-extendable, and cannot be transferred into any other type of stay permit. And then also, U.S. nationals could also apply for visa on arrival, but the difference is that it is 30 days also, but extendable for another 1 month. And another one is visit visa. This is also valid for U.S. nationals. It's valid up to 60 days and extendable for 5 times in the immigration office in Jakarta or in different places of Indonesia. And extension could be given for another 30 days of stay. But of course, the use of visa is for different purposes as well, such as tourism, like teaching language, meeting with headquarters or branch office in Indonesia, business negotiation, working very urgent matters. We have the list of countries that are given visa facilities, visa exemption countries, visa arrival countries, and we will, if you are interested, and then we will give you the information. And I would also like to inform you about the required documents so that the U.S. nationals could be well advised, particularly if they want to apply for the visa on arrival as well as the visa free, because they have to have a valid passport with a minimum of validity of 6 months, and then round-trip tickets, and then hotel reservation. So this is another information that we would happily give you. And then our contact numbers for visa application. And I'd like to give you different information. I think this is more on investment area. If you are interested in investing in tourism facility and infrastructure, we are developing 10 new Balis. So because we have so much to offer and we have so much potentials, but I think many destinations are not well developed in terms of infrastructure, and we would like we give priority to 10 new destinations or the current destinations with better facilities. Mr. Anton is from our investment board in New York, in our office in New York. More development will be conducted in Toba Lake area, and then can you get the slides? Yeah, in Lake Toba that I mentioned a while ago, Borobudur. This is the Borobudur temple. That's the largest Buddhist temple. And then next, Mandalika. This is a special economic zones. And then Tanjung Lesung, and that's in West Java. Tanjung Kelayang. This is in also in special economic zones. And then Thousand Islands, that's in the north of Jakarta. And then the Bromo, Tengger Semeru. And then Labuan Bajo is the main airports if you want to go to Komodo Islands. That's the stop. And then Morotai. I think I would like to inform you about Morotai because I think in the 50s the US actually interested in having another military base in the area of Indonesia, and this is actually the planned site of the military base during that time. But it was not. I think the projects didn't go through because again Indonesia during that time became so nationalistic, and we don't want to have any relations. Not any relations. We don't want to be seen as have the inclination towards the West. We would like to stay neutral, so that's why the plan is done. And Wakatobi, this is also a good site for diving. Next. Yeah. And another niche tourism that we would like to develop is halal tourism. And West Sumatra province last year was awarded the best halal tourist destination in Dubai during last year. Yeah. What is halal tourism? Actually, this is for mainly for the Muslims, and we offer destinations that are equipped with the requirements for the Muslims. let's say, like the praying room, and then what else? Huh? Oh, no alcohol, no pork facilities, and then adventure sports, and then ecotourism. Next. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Consul General.